thoroughly zested. All right, let's just set our zest aside because we will need that later. Bringing it back because I need to use the cutting board. Hello everyone. Today we're making blueberry lemon bread. To start, we need to melt a 1/3 cup of butter. So I'm gonna get out a microwave safe bowl, and our sticks are so handy and they tell us that 3 1/3 tablespoons is a 1/3 cup. So we'll go about, man, they don't even align the tick marks with the end, but oh well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just go to right here. Your butter doesn't need to be soft at this point. It might actually be easier to get it out of the stick if it were cold. But there we go. And then let's get this in the microwave. I'm going to put it in for 15 seconds and then I'll stir it up and probably will need another 15 to 30 seconds after that, but we'll see. So this is after 15 seconds. I'm gonna put it in for 15 more seconds. So we still have a little bit of butter that hasn't melted yet, but as you stir around into your melted butter, it will break down from the warmth. And then we can put this in our large mixing bowl. And now to this, we're going to add our sugar, our lemon juice, and our eggs. But before we juice the lemon, let's get the zest off. It's a lot easier to zest a lemon before you squeeze all the juice out of it. If your recipe ever calls for both lemon and zest it first. I have a microplane here, and we just want to get down to the white. But once you get to the white, move on to a different area, because once you get to the white part, that is bitter. So just the bright yellow part is what you want to zest. And I'm just going to zest my entire lemon. All right, thoroughly zested. Make sure you get all of that goodness off of your microplane. And if you don't have a microplane and you have a box grater for like cheese, usually on those box graters you have that one side that has like those little pokey things. It's the side that you never use because it's just like all those metal protrusions. You're like, when would I ever use this? That is the side that you can use to zest fruit. All right, let's just set our zest aside because we will need that later. Bringing it back because I need to use the cutting board. To help release the juice of your lemon, if it's still pretty firm, you can pop it in the microwave for a few seconds, but if you do that, you can still do this. By kind of just rolling it, it kind of just gets the juices flowing and makes it a little easier to get the juice out. All right, we need 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So if you have a juicer, you can go ahead and use that. If you do it by hand, just make sure to put your hand underneath to catch any seeds that are in there. Or I just dropped it in the bowl. I'm doing this in a separate bowl, so if I do drop any seeds in there, I can fish them out, and also so that I can measure my 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm going to juice my whole lemon because I don't think I have 3 tablespoons in that half of my lemon. All right, let's get out those seeds that I dropped in there. Only 2, not bad. Now, if you have any little cuts on your hand, be aware, it's going to hurt. Now we can set aside our cutting board. 3 tablespoons of lemon juice into our bowl with butter. So that was most of our juice from our lemon. I did have a relatively large lemon. Just so you know, if you have really small lemons or really big lemons, you may need more than 1 lemon. We need 1 cup of white sugar. And then 2 large eggs. Now, ideally you'll want your eggs at room temperature. Mine were in the fridge. So to expedite the warming them to room temperature process, I put them in a large glass filled with warm water and just let them sit in the warm water for a few minutes, and that helps bring the temperature up. It may sound kind of weird, but it works. All right, we're going to mix all of this together so that it's a nice, smooth, even, well-combined mixture. All right, it should come together pretty quickly, and I just gave it a little more stirring past the point where it came together, just to see if I could break down the sugar granules a little bit, and I try to do that so that we have a smoother batter. All right, so in a separate bowl, or if you want to be edgy, you can just put it in this bowl together. But we're going to mix together our dry ingredients. So first up, we have 1.5 cups of flour, and be sure that you are spooning your flour into your measuring cup. And that's just so that we aren't adding extra flour, because flour will pack down. So 1/2 cup, 1 cup, 1.5 cups, and then we need 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And salt just helps elevate the flavors, it makes them pop. Let's just mix all those together. And the reason we do that is so that the baking powder and the salt get evenly distributed amongst the flour, which helps evenly distribute the baking powder and the salt evenly within the whole batter. And you really just don't want to bite in and get a really salty bit or a really bitter bit, because the baking powder is bitter. So, oh, one last thing. Set your dry ingredients aside for just a second. We need a 1/2 cup of milk. And the recipe calls for 2%. Really, you can use what you have in the house or what you like. 2% is nice because it has a higher fat content, and fat equals flavor. So let's get all of our ingredients, all of our containers. We're going to add in the flour and the milk alternately, just so everything gets its turn to get mixed in and we get a nice smooth batter. So I think I'm going to try and divide everything by 3. So we'll put the flour in 1/3 at a time and the milk in 1/3 at a time. And then just mix it all together until it comes all together. And now would be a good time to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. All right, a little bit of milk. Half of what's left of our flour. Make sure you scrape down your edges as you go. Get everything mixed in. Half of what's left of our milk. And you don't have to do it in thirds like I'm doing. You could do it half the flour, half the milk, half the flour, half the milk. Or you could go in smaller increments if you want. Just don't do it all at once. All right, the last of our flour mixture. And the last of our milk. All right, so now we have the silky smooth batter. And now it's time to add in our blueberries. So I'm using frozen blueberries. You can use fresh ones, of course. And if you do, you can just put your 1 cup of fresh blueberries in there and fold it in. But since mine are frozen, there's a little extra moisture in them. usually from the frost. So I'm going to put my 1 cup of frozen blueberries into a bowl. And you can see already there's moisture left from the blueberries in my measuring cup. And I'm going to sprinkle a tablespoon of flour over them. You might not need a full tablespoon, maybe a couple teaspoons. And I'm going to coat my blueberries. So just toss them in the flour. And this is going to help absorb some of the moisture from the blueberries, and it's going to keep the blueberry juice from bleeding into our batter and making it purple. And so you don't have to do this. It's more of an aesthetic thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think coating them in flour helps to prevent them from sinking to the bottom of our blueberry bread. So if you have a bunch of flour sitting at the bottom of your bowl, maybe just spoon all of your blueberries out from the bowl into your batter. I'm just going to dump my blueberries into my batter. Nope, got a little flour there at the end, but that's okay. And then our recipe says we need 2 tablespoons of zest. You can always add more. Zest is the best. Zest is where you really get that lemon flavor because there's oil in the zest. When you eat really lemony or citrusy desserts, that flavor usually comes from the zest or oil from the zest, not so much the juice. So keep the rest of your zest. We need that for our glaze over the top. And if you are a nut person, the recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of chopped nuts. I am going to leave them out. Now is when you're going to fold in your blueberries and your zest. And you might still get some color bleeding from your blueberries, but that's just what happens when you work with blueberries. So you don't need to do a lot of stirring, just making sure your blueberries get evenly distributed. Okay. I'm going to get my loaf pans and a spatula. So the recipe says to grease a 8x4 loaf pan. I have 5.75 by 3-inch loaf pans. So we're gonna see if this fits in just 2 of these. I might have to get another one out. Grease your pans or line them. I have parchment paper on mine, and I'm gonna take my 1/2 cup measuring spoon and just go back and forth distributing my batter into them. Yeah, I think 2 pans will be enough. So I'm not telling you to do this, but you can always take a little taste test of your batter and see how it is. If you have extra zest and you want more zesty blueberry bread, feel free to fold some more in. These are gonna be some big blueberry breads. That's okay. More to eat. All right, so the recipe is using the larger loaf pans and says to cook it for 60 to 70 minutes in our 350-degree oven. I'm going to start with 40 minutes, 40, and check on them because I don't want to overcook these. 40 minutes and our breads are still pretty pale and you can see the wet inside. So I'm gonna pop them back in for 5 minutes and just check on them then. We're getting there. I think we still need, I'm gonna go for 10. All right. Let's see about this. Take your handy dandy toothpick, stab the middle. That came out clean. I'm gonna take a butter knife so I can get down to the middle. Yeah, that came out clean. So let's get its brother out. We'll see, just for good measure. I'm actually gonna put him back in for a minute. I think 2 minutes. And this little guy is going to cool for 10 minutes, and the other one will cool for 10 minutes as well. But in the meantime, we need to combine 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I need a second lemon. I don't have enough left over from my first one. And I just got out our other bread. So we have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Our recipe says to use a 1/4 cup of sugar for the glaze. When a recipe says just sugar, that usually means white sugar, but glazes are not normally made with white granulated sugar. So I'm using an educated guess and using powdered sugar. And then you just want to mix this all together until it's smooth. And mine's pretty liquidy for a glaze. Maybe they did use real sugar. I mean white sugar. Oh well, we'll just add more powdered sugar. You want it a consistency that will drizzle. Not super runny, but not thick enough that it's like a frosting. So let's check on this consistency. Well, let's taste it. And it doesn't call for it, but I'm gonna add in some zest. Because you do taste the lemon from that fresh lemon juice, but zest just holds so much flavor in it. So this is a little thinner than I wanted it to be, but that is okay. Again, if you want, you can add more powdered sugar. I might add a little more. I guess they were telling the truth when they said just regular white sugar. Sorry, I didn't believe you, taste of home. And a whisk is really good for this job because it breaks up all of that powdered sugar. So it's nice and smooth. Whoa, we're out of control. That zest was an excellent choice. Keep your spoon. Let's get out a board. Get our bread out of our pan. Oh, parchment is excellent because when you drizzle your glaze, it can just run onto the parchment. So use about half on the one loaf, and then you can use half on the other loaf. And it's just gonna run down the sides. But look at that. Let's cut us a piece. Oh yeah. Let's give it a try. It's still warm. I'm gonna get a piece off the top. Make sure I get that glaze on there. Nice golden top. Blueberry inside. It's nice and moist on the inside. A little bit of a crunch on the outside. Not sickly sweet bread. Just enough to hit the spot. And then a little bit of extra sweetness from the glaze on top. Good stuff. All my blueberry fans out there, this is what's up. Well, go on and give this a try, and if you do, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear how it turns out for you and if you like it. But thank you all for stopping by. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, hit that subscribe button and that bell so that you know when I drop the next video. And thank you all for watching.